I'm building a Blackberry trellis today, and it's going to cost me less than $50. For materials, I have two T-posts, each about 5 feet high. I've got 12 gauge wire, 100 feet. I have twine, wire cutters, pruners, and gloves. I also have a T-post driver, but if you don't have one of those, a hammer should work just fine. In this bed, I have 7 triple crown thornless blackberries. 5 of them I got as bare roots and planted them about 2 years ago. The other 2 I propagated on my own. They are younger and aren't as big as the other 5. These blackberries sit in a bed that's about 15 feet long. So the first step is embedding a T-post on each end of the garden bed. One side of the T-post has these ridges. You'll want those to face out so that the wire can catch on them. And you'll want to embed the T-post deep enough that the fins on the bottom are all the way in the ground. We want them to be sturdy enough that we can really pull on the wire to make sure that it's as taut as possible. With blackberries, you have a lot of different varieties, of course. You've got thornless and thorned, and then you have their growth habit. Some are vine-like, some are semi-erect, and some are fully erect. The triple crown variety that I have is a semi-erect one. So it will send up these canes that can get to be pretty long, longer than 6 feet, but after they get about 2 feet high, they kind of flop over. So we're going to give them a little more structure, and this is going to help them yield more fruit for us. With both T-posts in place, my next step is to take the wire and wrap it around the T-post. I then wrap that wire around itself, 6 or 8 times, just to make sure that it stays in place. Then once I have one end secure, I pull the wire to the other side. This 12 gauge steel wire I bought was I think just under $25 for 100 feet. And since I did 2 levels of my trellis here, which are each about 15 feet long, I ended up using about 30 of that 100-foot wire. If you're really on a budget, you could possibly save a little bit of money by going with a higher gauge wire. But if you can swing it, this will be the sturdiest option for you. Doing a 2-tiered system like I am here is going to give me a little bit of flexibility. So in the late summer, when the canes start to grow, I'll be able to tie it off first to the lower one, and then as they put on length and get high enough, I can tie them to the second tier and then also tip prune them. That tip pruning is going to make them bushy. It's going to encourage lateral growth, which is going to increase my fruit production. With the wire in place, it's time to move on to the next step, and that's identifying the primocanes and tying them onto that first tier, the lowest tier. We classify blackberry growth by how old it is. Those first year canes are called primocanes. They don't bear fruit. Their job that first year is just to grow and put on mass. Then after winter, they become floricanes, and they head into the new growing season ready to bear fruit. Because of that 2-year cycle, we really need to offer them support to get the most out of them. This is a little different than raspberries. Most raspberries put fruit out on the primocanes. Some put them out on the floricanes as well. And actually, I have one type of blackberry that puts fruit out on the primocane as well. That's called the prime arc, and I think it's developed by the University of Arkansas. There's quite a wide variance when it comes to these primocanes. I have one primocane that was taller than I am at 6 feet tall, and so that one I was able to tie to both tiers and also tip prune it. However, I also have a primocane that's barely out of the ground, maybe 8 inches tall. I thought that's kind of interesting, and I'm not sure why that's the case. Now it's time for the next step. My berry picking for 2025, at least for blackberries, is all over. So now I'm going to take all that growth and cut it out. I'm going to cut out all the floricanes. Just be really careful as you get down there with the clippers that you don't accidentally cut a primocane. And also keep your eye out for primocanes that you missed. As I was pruning out this old growth, I actually did find a primocane and tie it up halfway through. One thing I observed as a new berry gardener myself is that for the first year or two, the blackberries I harvested didn't really have that classic blackberry taste. In fact, some of them didn't taste good at all. But as the bushes themselves have matured, the berries have started to taste better in turn. As I mentioned earlier, of these 7 blackberry plants, 5 were bare roots that I ordered online, and 2 are plants that I propagated just by taking the tip of a primocane and sticking it into a pot of soil. So that's another route you can go down if you are new to berries and you want to increase your number of plants. They're super easy to propagate. Just put it in a pot of soil, keep the soil moist, and within a month or 2 you should have a plant that you can take out and plant in the ground. Here's an after shot of all the work I've done. I've got primocanes, I've pruned out all the old growth. I've weeded the bed, except for that thyme plant right there. I love having that there. And I've got 8 primocanes tied up and ready for next season. So now it's on me and the weather to make sure they survive the winter. And I hope next year is the biggest berry crop that I've ever had so far. Lastly, I'm just going to give them a really good water in. Remember, with all this pruning that you've done, the plants are going to be in a little bit of shock, so to help them out, give them some water and help them along.